You are listening to Claimed by the Storm, written by Deanne Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. She drove into a sandstorm to save a stranger. He woke up and decided she was his. Senna North is a rally car racer with a dying mother, a broken-down Mitsubishi, and a talking French Bulldog who navigates by reading air currents. She doesn't need complications. She needs prize money. Cormac Castlemaine is the heir to the Desert Moon Pack, ancient, powerful, and engaged to someone else. When Senna crashes into his life, his wolf recognizes something his human mind can't explain. Now she's bonded to a man she just met, hunted by enemies she doesn't understand, and falling for a world she was never supposed to enter. He says he'll protect her. His wolf says she belongs with him. She says she'll decide that for herself. If you love shifter romances with heart, humor, and animal sidekicks who absolutely steal the show, you're in the right place. You can find the entire collection at happynovels.com. This story is original, written specifically for you. Created on demand for this channel's audience because you asked for romances with unique twists, genuine emotion, and heroes who learn that love isn't about claiming, it's about choosing. Want your story idea featured next? Drop it in the comments. Liking, commenting, and subscribing is the only way to support this channel and keep these stories coming. It also helps other romance lovers find their next obsession, so spread the word. This story includes a bonus chapter, link in the description, and pinned in the first comment. And as always, you can find the entire library at happynovels.com. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. Senna North revved the engine and let the Mitsubishi's growl roll through her bones. The desert stretched before her like a golden ocean frozen mid-wave. Dunes rose and fell in endless ripples, their crests razor-sharp against the pale sky. Heat shimmered off the sand, turning the horizon into a liquid mirage. Somewhere out there, 1,200 kilometers of the most brutal terrain on Earth waited to chew her up and spit her out. She couldn't wait. "Snow!" Titan announced from the passenger seat. The French Bulldog sat strapped into his custom harness, his wrinkled face scrunched in misery. Snow would be better. Snow is cold. Snow doesn't try to cook you alive like a rotisserie chicken. "You've never seen real snow," Senna said, adjusting her grip on the wheel. "I've seen pictures. It looks magnificent. White, clean, not—" He sneezed violently, his whole compact body convulsing. "Not full of particles that invade every orifice. Orifice is a strong word choice. I have sand in places sand should never be, Senna." Titan's bat ears flattened against his skull. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being anatomically accurate." She bit back a smile. The A1 Thrills was in 6 days, and she was sitting in 3rd place after qualifying. 3rd. Behind Marco Veltri, who had the driving instincts of a caffeinated squirrel, and Yuki Tanaka, who was genuinely good and therefore impossible to hate properly. 3rd place didn't pay rent. 3rd place didn't get her mother the best medical treatment she deserved. 3rd place was just a fancy way of saying first loser. "This race matters," she said, more to herself than to Titan. "If I can crack the top 2, when?" Titan corrected. "When you crack the top 2. I'll finally have leverage for a real sponsorship. Not the energy drink company that wants me to wear neon spandex. An actual automotive sponsor." "The spandex was tragic," Titan shuddered. "You looked like a highlighter having a seizure. Thank you for that image." "I'm just saying." He scratched behind his ear with his back paw, wobbling in his harness. "You deserve better. You're the best driver out here. Everyone knows it, except the people writing checks." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tight. She focused on the dunes ahead. "You could have stayed at the hotel," she said. "Air conditioning, room service, that pillow you like. The orthopedic one with the memory foam?" Titan's ears perked momentarily, then flattened again. "No, absolutely not. I'm not leaving you out here alone." "I'm a grown woman, Titan. I can practice by myself." "Can you?" He fixed her with a look that was surprisingly intense for a dog who weighed 18 pounds. "Can you really? Because the last time I let you practice alone, the only time, you drove straight into a canyon because you were too stubborn to admit you couldn't see the edge." Senna's hands tightened on the wheel. "The sun was in my eyes. The sun was behind you. I had dust in my goggles. You weren't wearing goggles. Tighten, you broke your collarbone in 3 places. His voice had gone fierce, almost angry. 3 places, Senna. I sat in that hospital room for 6 hours while they put you back together like furniture from IKEA. So no, I don't stay at the hotel. I don't wait by the pool. Where you go, I go. Partners. The word hung in the air between them. Partners. It sounded ridiculous when you said it out loud. A rally driver and an 18-pound French Bulldog with an inferiority complex and an inexplicable talent for reading air pressure. But Titan had been with her since she'd found him shivering behind a truck stop in Nevada 3 years ago, all ribs and terror and those huge ears that seemed to hear things no one else could. He'd never left her side since. Fine, she said, but if you get heat stroke, I'm not carrying you. You absolutely would carry me. Titan sniffed. You'd carry me and cry about it. I don't cry. You cried at that commercial with the horses. That commercial was emotionally manipulative and you know it. I'm just saying, you have feelings. I've seen them. Senna rolled her eyes and punched the accelerator. The car launched forward, eating up the sand. She pushed hard through the practice circuit she'd mapped out yesterday. A brutal loop that hit every type of terrain she'd face in the race. Soft sand that wanted to swallow her tires. Rocky patches that threatened to shred her undercarriage. Dune faces so steep they felt like driving up walls. She took them all. 1 round. 43 minutes of pure focus, her body and the car moving as one unit. By the time she crossed her starting point again, sweat had soaked through her suit and her arms burned from fighting the wheel. But she'd shaved 12 seconds off her best time. Not bad, she said, allowing herself a small smile. Not bad? Titan bounced in his seat. That was incredible. Did you feel that last turn? The one where you almost rolled but didn't? I thought I was going to die, and I loved every second of it. You have a concerning relationship with near-death experiences. I contain multitudes. He settled back, panting. Home now? I think I've sweated out organs I need. Senna turned the car toward the distant shimmer of the resort, 12 miles east. A shower, cold water. Maybe that lamb tagine the hotel restaurant made that was probably too expensive, but she'd earned it. Good thinking, Titan said suddenly, his ears rotating like satellite dishes. Because there's weather coming. Weather? Pressure's dropping. Fast. He cocked his head. Big storm coming. Southwest. She couldn't feel a thing. But Titan was never wrong when it came to air pressure and weather. She'd won races just because he'd shown her the best paths to utilize the air currents for her less-than-ideal car. Movement, the corner of her eye, a rider shot past them, heading west. Black horse, full gallop, moving so fast the sand sprayed up in a rooster tail behind it. The rider hunched low over the horse's neck, urging it faster, directly toward the horizon that had started to turn brown. Is that person insane? Senna sat up straighter. There's a storm coming and they're riding into it? Apparently. Titan squinted. Humans. No survival instincts whatsoever. Senna watched the rider grow smaller in the distance. The brown smear on the horizon was growing, eating the blue sky at an alarming rate. I should warn them, she said. What? No! Titan's whole body went rigid. No. We discussed this. We're going home. Cold water, air conditioning, that tagine you like. They'll die out there, Titan. And that's sad, genuinely tragic. But it's not our problem. I have a car. She turned the wheel. They have a horse. You have a car with me in it. I'm allergic to sandstorms. They make my eyes water and my nose run and... He sneezed 3 times in rapid succession. See, I'm already symptomatic. Plus, they have a very fast horse. Horses have good instincts. They won't run into a storm to die. Unlike your stupid car. If you don't like sand, close your vents. I don't have vents. I'm a dog. Senna gunned the engine and aimed for the rider. The storm front was moving faster than she'd expected. Within minutes, the sky had gone from clear to hazy, the sun dimming behind a veil of airborne sand. The wind picked up, buffeting the car sideways, and visibility dropped from miles to meters. This is bad, Titan said, his voice muffled by the shirt he'd somehow pulled over his nose. This is very bad. I want it noted that I objected. Noted. I want it noted strenuously. Strenuously noted. Sand pinged against the windshield like handfuls of thrown rice. Senna squinted through the chaos, searching for any sign of the rider. The world had turned sepia, all color bleached out by the swirling particles. There, a shadow, darker than the storm around it. She angled toward it, and the shadow resolved into shapes. Horse, rider, both moving erratically. "The horse is panicking," she said. "The horse has correct instincts," Titan wailed. "The horse knows we're all going to die." "We're not going to die. Tell that to my respiratory system." The horse had gone fully wild now, bucking and rearing as its rider fought to keep control. Senna could see the man's arms straining, his body jerking with every movement. The animal was terrified beyond reason, and it was heading straight for the heart of the storm. "Senna," Titan's voice pitched higher. "Senna, you're driving toward the bad part." "I know. The bad part is where we don't want to be." "I know, Titan." She accelerated. The storm screamed around them. Sand poured through every seal, coating her tongue with grit. She could barely see 5 feet ahead, navigating by glimpses and instinct. The horse charged past her window, and she yanked the wheel, bringing the car parallel. Close enough to see the animal's rolling eyes, close enough to see foam at its mouth. "Easy!" she shouted, knowing it was useless, hoping her voice might cut through the horse's panic. "Easy, boy!" The horse ran faster. The rider shouted something. She caught fragments through the wind. "Don't," making it worse. But the storm swallowed the rest. He was fighting the reins, trying to slow the animal without hurting it. She could see the conflict on his face, the refusal to yank hard enough to damage the horse's mouth, even as it carried him toward disaster. Sentimental idiot. She'd have to do this herself. Senna floored the accelerator. The car surged forward, pulling ahead of the horse, and she cut the wheel hard, skidding to a stop directly in its path. The horse saw the car and screamed. It tried to stop, hooves scrambling in the sand, but momentum carried it forward. At the last second, it planted its front legs and twisted. The rider went airborne. He hit the sand hard, rolled twice, and came up on his hands and knees, spitting grit. The horse, free of its burden, turned and bolted back the way they'd come, disappearing into the brown wall of the storm. Senna threw open her door and ran to him. "Are you okay?" She dropped to her knees beside him. "Can you move everything? How many fingers am I—" "You lunatic!" He looked up at her, and even through the sand coating his face, she could see his eyes blazing. Green, furious. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Senna rocked back on her heels. "Excuse me?" "Majid is young. He's inexperienced. And now he'll run into the worst part of the storm and get killed. Would it help if you died with your horse?" "I wasn't going to die, but he will because you spooked him." The man jabbed a finger at her, his accent. Irish wrapped around something different, like silk, something ancient, thickening with rage. "He was calming down, and then your vehicle came screaming out of nowhere, and he was calming down?" Senna laughed, high and incredulous. "He was running straight into a haboob. You were about to be sandblasted into jerky. I had it under control. You had nothing under control. You were a passenger on a 1,000-pound panic attack. I know that horse. I know how to handle him. And now he's gone, running terrified into— Oh, I'm sorry. Should I have let you die to preserve your horse's feelings?" "That horse," he said through gritted teeth, "was a gift from my grandmother. And you—" He stepped closer, looming over her. "You just sent him into that storm. Alone, afraid." For a moment, Senna felt a flicker of guilt. Then she remembered that she'd just saved this ungrateful idiot's life, and the guilt evaporated. "He'll find shelter," she said. "Horses have survival instincts. And I don't?" Evidence suggests no. Titan had somehow made it to her side, his small body pressed against her ankle. Sand coated his wrinkled face, and his eyes were streaming, but he planted himself between Senna and the stranger like a very small, very wheezy bodyguard. "Not to interrupt this lovely moment of mutual hatred," Titan said, squinting up at the man, "but there's approximately 90 seconds before that wall of death reaches us, and I, for one, have a pillow waiting at the hotel. Memory foam, orthopedic. I'd like to see it again before I die, and dying out here defending your honor was not on my schedule." The man stared at Titan. Your dog talks." "He has a name," Titan snapped. "It's Titan." "A talking Frenchie called Titan?" The man's eyebrows shot up. Titan's ears flattened. "Do not call me Frenchie. I am a French Bulldog. There's a difference. Frenchie sounds like a pastry. Or a poodle. I am neither. I am a warrior trapped in a compact body, and I will not be diminished by a man who just got dumped by his own horse." He turned and waddled furiously back toward the car. "I'm getting in. You two can flirt in the sandstorm if you want. I choose life." The wind hit them like a wall. Senna stumbled, nearly knocked off her feet by the sudden force. The brown wall she'd seen on the horizon wasn't on the horizon anymore. It was here. "Car!" she shouted over the roar. "Get in the car!" The man hesitated, pride and fury warring on his face. "Only if you help me find the horse. I'll guide you. I know where he'll go." "Now!" She grabbed his arm and yanked. "You can hate me and live or hate me and die. Those are your options. Find the horse. Fine, get in." He got in the car. Senna dove into the driver's seat, slamming the door against the screaming wind. Sand immediately started pouring through the vents, coating everything in grit. The man in her passenger seat was trying to brush sand out of his eyes. Up close, without the fury, Senna could see him properly for the first time. High cheekbones, strong jaw, hair that was probably dark when it wasn't coated in desert. And those eyes, green like sea glass, watching her with an intensity that felt like being read. "We need to find the horse," he said. "I'm aware." She gunned the engine. "But I can't see 5 feet." "Then I'll guide you." He leaned forward, orienting himself despite the zero visibility. "Head straight. You'll feel when the sand gets softer on the left. That's the old riverbed. Stay right of that." "This is a bad idea," Titan objected from the back. "I want that noted. For the record, when we die, I want historians to know that I was the voice of reason, and you both ignored me." "Noted," Senna said. She drove. It was the hardest 5 miles of her life. The storm battered them from every direction, rocking the car like a boat in a hurricane. Sand piled against the windows, scraped across the roof, found its way into every possible opening. The man, she still didn't know his name, called out directions in that clipped accent, and she followed them because she had no other choice. "Left, more left. There's a rock formation ahead. You'll feel the wind break." She felt it, adjusted. Straight now. The road should be... The car lurched as the tires hit pavement. Actual pavement. They were close. The gust hit them from the side with no warning. 1 second the car was moving forward, the next it was lifting. Senna felt the wheels leave the ground and her stomach dropped. She heard Titan yelp. Then the world went sideways. The car rolled. Senna's harness caught her, bit into her shoulders, released, caught again. Sand and debris rained through the cabin. Something slammed into her arm. The first aid kit, she thought distantly. And something warm wrapped around her head, shielding her face. Him. He's trying to protect her. They rolled again and again. When the car finally stopped, it was upside down. Senna hung from her harness, blood rushing to her head. Her arms screamed where the kit had hit it. Her shoulder felt wrong, wrenched in a direction shoulders weren't meant to go. "Titan," she croaked. "Titan, are you alive?" His voice came from somewhere below her, above her, whatever direction down was now. Bruised, disoriented, reconsidering every life choice that led me here. But alive. You? Same. She tried to move and gasped as pain shot through her shoulder. Mostly. "The human?" Titan asked. "The annoying one?" Senna turned her head. The man hung beside her, unconscious, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. His arm was still extended toward her, still positioned where he'd tried to shield her head when the car started rolling. He'd tried to cushion her. This stranger. This arrogant, ungrateful, infuriating stranger who blamed her for saving his life. He'd tried to protect her. "He's breathing," she said. "I think. We need to—" The car groaned. Metal shifted. Through the cracked windshield, Senna could see sand piling up against the glass, the storm still raging outside. The windshield cracked. Sand started pouring in. Chapter 2. Sand poured through the cracked windshield like water through a broken dam. Senna's fingers fumbled with her harness release, her injured shoulder screaming with every movement. Blood rushed to her head. The world was upside down and filling with desert, and the man beside her wasn't moving. "Tighten!" She finally found the latch and dropped hard onto the ceiling that was now the floor. Pain exploded through her shoulder. "Help me get him out." "Working on it." Titan had already scrambled to the man's side, his small paws scrabbling uselessly at the harness buckle. "These mechanisms are not designed for beings without opposable thumbs. This is a design flaw. Someone should be sued." Senna crawled over debris. A water bottle. Her phone, with its screen shattered. The first aid kit that had tried to kill her and reached the passenger side. The man hung limp, blood still dripping from his forehead, completely unconscious. She didn't even know his name. "Come on, come on." She found his harness release and yanked. He dropped like a sack of bricks, and she barely managed to catch his shoulders before his head cracked against the ceiling. "Tighten the door." "Which door? We have several. All of them appear to be jammed." "The one that's not buried in sand." Titan threw his compact body against the rear door. It didn't budge. He tried again, grunting with effort. On the third attempt, something gave, and the door swung open into the howling storm. Sand immediately blasted into the car. "That's worse," Titan shrieked. "That's actively worse. Just go. I'm right behind you." Titan leaped out into the chaos. Senna grabbed the unconscious man under his arms and pulled. He was heavy, solid muscle and dead weight, and her shoulder felt like someone had shoved a hot poker into the joint. She gritted her teeth and heaved, dragging him inch by inch across the overturned ceiling. The windshield gave way completely. A wall of sand crashed into the car, burying the front seats in seconds. If she'd still been hanging from her harness, no time to think about that. She pulled harder. Her boots slipped on the sand-slicked surface. The storm screamed through the open door, tearing at her clothes, her hair, filling her mouth with grit every time she gasped for air. "Senna!" Titan's voice came from somewhere outside. "There's rocks 20 meters north, I think." "Which way is north?" "The way I'm barking!" She hauled the man through the door and out into hell. The storm hit her like a physical assault. Wind so strong it nearly knocked her flat. Sand so thick she couldn't see her own hands. She could hear Titan barking somewhere ahead, short, sharp yaps cutting through the roar, and she followed the sound, dragging 200 pounds of unconscious stranger behind her. Her shoulder gave out after 10 steps. She collapsed to her knees, still gripping the man's shirt, and screamed into the wind. This wasn't working. He was too heavy. She was too injured. They were going to die out here, buried in sand, and nobody would ever find them. Titan appeared at her side, sand coating his wrinkled face, eyes streaming. "His wrist!" he shouted over the storm. "The bracelet! Take off the bracelet!" "What?" "The suppressant! On his wrist! Take it off!" Senna stared at him. "I don't know what that—" "Just do it! Trust me!" She didn't have time to argue. Her fingers found the man's wrist. Thick leather band, expensive looking, some kind of metal clasp she couldn't figure out in the chaos. Titan solved the problem by lunging forward and sinking his teeth into the leather. He bit down hard, yanking his head sideways, and the bracelet tore free. Titan spat it out and scrambled backward, his eyes suddenly wide with fear. The man's eyes snapped open. They were glowing. Bright amber, like molten gold, like something not entirely human, burning behind his gaze. His pupils had narrowed to vertical slits. He looked at Senna. "Mate," he said. His voice was different, deeper, rougher, like something feral speaking through human vocal cords. Titan yelped and threw himself sideways. "Move! Senna! Move!" She didn't move fast enough. The man surged upward with impossible strength. This was someone who'd been unconscious 3 seconds ago, bleeding, dead weight, and his arms wrapped around her, pulling her against his chest. His grip was iron, unbreakable. "Mate," he growled again, and then his mouth was on her neck. Pain. Sharp, searing, wrong. His teeth broke skin, and something flooded through her, hot and electric and overwhelming, like being struck by lightning from the inside out. Titan was barking, screaming really. "No, bad wolf, you cannot claim my human. She is my human. We have a system. There are rules." Senna's vision blurred, the world tilted sideways. "I am going to bite you so hard!" Titan shrieked somewhere in the distance. "I'm going to pee on everything you love. This is non-consensual neck biting. There are laws." The pain faded to warmth. The warmth faded to nothing. She was floating. No, she was being carried. Strong arms under her knees, against her back. The storm still raged, but it seemed distant now, muffled, like she was wrapped in cotton. Amber eyes looked down at her, still glowing, still not quite human. Then darkness. Stone ceiling. That was the first thing Senna saw when she opened her eyes. Rough gray rock, flickering orange from a light source somewhere to her left. She was lying on sand. Her shoulder still hurt, but distantly, like the pain belonged to someone else. Her neck throbbed where he'd bitten her. She sat up fast, too fast. Her head spun. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Titan was at her side instantly, his small body pressing against her hip. Easy. You've been out for almost an hour. Your blood pressure is probably doing things blood pressure shouldn't do. Where? Her voice came out as a croak. She swallowed and tried again. Where are we? Rock formation, about a mile from where your car is currently being buried by several tons of sand. Titan's voice was tight, controlled. The creature carried you here, while I followed, shouting objections that went completely ignored. The creature? Oh, I'm sorry, would you prefer I call him by name? Titan's ears flattened. Mr. Neckbiter? Lord Claim without consent? Duke of Dental Assault? Movement from deeper in the cave. Senna turned her head. The man sat against the far wall, arms resting on his knees, watching her. The glow was gone from his eyes. They were green again, sea glass green. But something feral still lingered in the way he held himself. Alert, predatory, guilty. "You're awake," he said. "She's awake and she's furious." Titan planted himself between Senna and the stranger, hackles raised. "You bit her. You bit my human, without permission, without a discussion. Do you have any idea what you've done?" The man's jaw tightened. "I know exactly what I've done." "Do you? Do you really? Because from where I'm standing, and I'm standing on the moral high ground, by the way, it's very comfortable up here, you just ruined her life." "Titan." Senna's voice was steadier now. "What did he do to me?" Titan turned to face her, his expression shifting from rage to something almost gentle. "Senna, tell me." "He claimed you." The words came out flat, hard. His wolf claimed you as his mate, and in doing so, he turned you. "Turn me into what?" Titan took a deep breath. "A werewolf, Senna. You're a werewolf now. Or you will be, once the transformation completes." His ears drooped. "And because he claimed you during the bite, you're bonded to him, permanently, as his mate." The words hung in the air like smoke. Senna stared at Titan, then at the man, then back at Titan. "I'm sorry," she said slowly. "I think I have sand in my ears, because it sounded like you just said I'm a werewolf who's married to a stranger." "Not married," the man said quietly. "Mated. It's different, deeper. We mate for life." Senna's voice cracked. "I'm bound to you for life? I'm going to turn four-legged furry and howl?" The guilt on his face deepened. "My name is Cormac Castlemaine. I didn't mean to, but my wolf claimed you. You're family now." His green eyes held hers. "I will protect you." "Oh, how wonderful!" Titan threw his paws up. "His wolf did it! The wolf that lives inside him that he's supposed to control! Truly, he's blameless. Someone give him an award." "I wear a suppressant." Cormac's voice was strained. "The bracelet. It keeps my wolf dormant." "When your dog removed it—" "When I removed it?" Titan's voice hit a pitch that could shatter crystal. "I removed it to save your life, because she wouldn't leave you behind, and you were 200 pounds of unconscious dead weight." Senna pressed her fingers to the wound on her neck. It didn't hurt anymore. In fact, it felt almost warm, pleasant. That was somehow worse. "Can it be undone?" she asked. The silence that followed was answer enough. "No," Cormac said finally. "A claiming bite. It's permanent. The bond will solidify over the next few days. Your body will change. Your senses will sharpen. You'll be faster, stronger. I didn't ask for faster and stronger." Senna's hands clenched into fists. I asked for my normal life back." "I know." His voice was raw. "I know, and I'm sorry. If I could undo it, but you can't." "No." Cormac rose to his feet, and Senna tensed. But he didn't approach. Instead, he moved to the mouth of the cave and put 2 fingers to his lips. He whistled. The sound cut through the diminishing wind, sharp, commanding, not quite human. Hoofbeats, getting closer. The black horse appeared through the settling dust, trotting toward the cave with an eagerness that bordered on desperate. It pressed its nose against Cormac's chest, nickering softly. Majid, the horse that had thrown him, the horse that had bolted into the storm. "How?" Senna stared. "He ran away. Why didn't you call him before?" Cormac stroked the horse's neck. "Because he listens to my wolf spirit. Not to me." Senna closed her eyes. Her head was pounding. Her shoulder was throbbing. Her entire life had just been rewritten by a man she'd known for less than 2 hours. A man she was now apparently bonded to forever. "The storm's passing," Cormac said. "We need to move. The resort is 5 miles east. We can make it on horseback." "And then what?" "Then we figure out what happens next." He swung onto Majid's back with an easy grace that made Senna's teeth grind. Then he reached down, offering his hand. "I know you hate me right now. You have every right to. But we need to get to shelter, and walking isn't an option." Senna stared at his hand. "I could bite him again," Titan offered. "For solidarity. I've developed a taste for it." "Tempting." She took a breath. Then another. She lifted Titan onto the horse's back first, then took Cormac's hand and let him pull her up behind him. Titan immediately wedged himself between their bodies, his compact form surprisingly effective as a barrier. "I'm the buffer," he announced, "the physical and emotional buffer. No one touches anyone without going through me first." "Noted," Cormac said. "Strenuously noted?" "Strenuously." Majid started forward, picking his way through the debris of the passing storm. The sky was still brown, but lighter now, the wind dying down to something almost manageable. Senna wrapped one arm around Cormac's waist, purely for stability, she told herself, and felt something pulse through the contact. Warmth, recognition, a sense of rightness that had no business existing. The mate bond, already forming. She hated it. She hated him. "The resort," she said flatly. "What's at the resort?" "My family." Cormac's shoulders tensed under her arm. "My pack, the Castlemaines. We've held this territory for 300 years. My father is the alpha." "Of course he is," Senna laughed, but there was no humor in it. "So not only did you bite me, turn me into a werewolf, and bond me to you forever, you're also some kind of wolf prince?" "Something like that." "And your family? Your pack? How are they going to feel about you bringing home a random human you bit in a sandstorm?" Cormac was quiet for a long moment. "You're mine now," he said finally, "and I'll protect you no matter what." "That's not what I asked." "That's the only answer I have right now." The resort appeared through the settling dust, a sprawling complex of golden stone and modern glass, beautiful and imposing against the desert sky. Titan's ears rotated forward. "I don't like this place," he muttered. "It smells like money and judgment." "You can smell judgment?" "I can smell everything, Senna. It's a blessing and a curse." He paused. "Mostly a curse. Do you know what expensive people smell like? Anxiety and hair product, it's deeply unpleasant." Despite everything, the bite, the bond, the complete destruction of her life, Senna felt her lips twitch. Cormac guided Majid toward the main gates. Whatever waited inside, she'd face it. She didn't have a choice. Chapter 3. The gates of the Al-Nahar resort swung open like the jaws of something hungry. Senna's grip tightened on Cormac's waist as Majid carried them through. The compound sprawled before her, golden sandstone buildings with clean modern lines, infinity pools that seemed to melt into the desert horizon, palm trees swaying in the last gasps of storm wind. Beautiful. Expensive. The kind of place where people like her parked cars, not stayed in suites. "This is excessive," Titan muttered from his position between them. "This is aggressively excessive. Do they need 17 fountains? Is there a fountain shortage I'm unaware of?" Staff in crisp white uniforms lined the main pathway, heads bowed as they passed. Not one of them looked up, not one of them spoke. The silence pressed against Senna's ears like cotton. "They're not looking at us," she said. "They're not allowed to," Cormac replied. "Not when family enters through the main gate." "That's creepy," Titan said. "That's tradition." "Same thing." A man stood at the entrance to the central building, tall, broad, silver threading through dark hair that had probably once been the same shade as Cormac's. His posture was military straight, his expression carved from the same stone as the resort walls. But his eyes, green like Cormac's, green like sea glass, burned with barely contained fury. "Your father," Senna said. "Ronan Castlemaine." Cormac's voice had gone flat. "Careful." "Alpha of the Desert Moon Pack." "He looks thrilled to see us," Titan said, then snorted. Majid stopped at the base of the entrance steps. Cormac dismounted first, then reached up to help Senna down. His hands lingered at her waist a moment longer than necessary, steadying her, she told herself, nothing more, before he turned to face his father. "Father," he said. "Son." Ronan's gaze swept over Senna like she was something scraped off a shoe. "Explain." "There was a storm." "I'm aware of the storm. Half the resort lost power. 3 outbuildings collapsed." Ronan descended 2 steps, and even that small movement carried the weight of absolute authority. "What I require explanation for is why you left the compound without security, why your horse returned without you, and why you're now standing in my courtyard with a human who reeks of your claim." Titan's hackles rose. Did he just say she reeks? Ronan's attention snapped to the French Bulldog. "And a talking dog. Wonderful, the evening improves." "I have a name," Titan said. "It's Titan, and she doesn't reek. She smells like courage and motor oil and good decisions, unlike some people in this courtyard who smell like Titan." Senna put her hand on his head. "Not now." "But not now." Titan subsided, but his body remained rigid against her leg. Ronan returned his attention to Cormac. "The claiming bite. I can smell it from here. Please tell me you didn't do what I think you did." "My wolf, your wolf is your responsibility." Ronan's voice cracked like a whip. 300 years of alliances, 2 years of negotiations with the Northern Pack. Kiva Thornwood arrives in 4 days for your formal bonding ceremony, and you— He stopped, breathed. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, which somehow made it worse. "You claimed a stranger. It wasn't planned." "That makes it worse, not better." A woman appeared in the doorway behind Ronan, elegant. Silver blonde hair swept back from a face that had probably launched ships in its day. She wore silk the color of desert sand, and diamonds glittered at her throat. Cormac's mother. Had to be. "Ronan?" Her voice was cool, controlled. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion inside, away from the staff." "The staff know their place." "The staff have ears." She descended the steps with fluid grace, stopping beside her husband. Her gaze found Senna, and unlike Ronan's dismissal, this was an assessment, thorough, clinical. "You're the one he claimed." "Apparently," Senna lifted her chin. "I didn't exactly volunteer." Something flickered in the woman's eyes. Surprise? Respect? Gone too fast to identify. "I'm Isolde," she said. "Cormac's mother. And you are?" "Senna North. The rally driver." Isolde's head tilted. 3rd place in qualifying for the A1 Thrills, driving a Mitsubishi that should have been retired 2 seasons ago. Senna blinked. "You know who I am?" "I know everyone who enters our territory for the race." Isolde's lips curved, not quite a smile. "I also know your mother is in a care facility in Nevada. Stage 3 kidney disease. The bills are substantial." The words hit Senna like a punch to the chest. "How do you—" "Information is currency, Miss North, and I make it my business to be wealthy in all forms." Isolde turned to her son. "Bring her inside. Get her cleaned up. We'll discuss this situation over dinner." "This situation?" Senna's temper flared. "I'm not a situation. I'm a person who got bitten without consent and is now apparently bonded for life to a man I met 2 hours ago. I don't want to discuss anything. I want to go back to my hotel, figure out how to salvage my car, and race in 6 days so I can pay for my mother's treatment. Silence. Even the palm trees seemed to stop rustling. Ronan stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Did she just— She did, Isolde murmured.
In my own courtyard. Indeed. Cormac stepped closer to Senna, positioning his body slightly in front of hers.
The movement was subtle, but unmistakable. Protective. She's had a difficult day, he said. We both have. If we could postpone— No. Ronan's voice brooked no argument. The Northern Pack has already been notified of your return. Kiva's father is demanding an explanation. We will discuss this situation— He shot a pointed look at Senna. Tonight, in 1 hour, the Amber Room. He turned and strode back into the building. Isolde lingered a moment longer. Miss North, she said softly, a word of advice. My husband values strength, but he values obedience more. Consider carefully which one you display tonight. She followed her husband inside. Senna let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Well, that was fun. That was the warm-up. Cormac's jaw was tight. I'm sorry. I should have prepared you better. Prepared me for what? Your father treating me like dirt on his shoe, or your mother knowing my entire life history? She ran a hand through her sand-crusted hair and winced when her fingers caught on tangles. This is insane. All of it. I should just leave. You can't. Watch me. No, Senna. Cormac caught her arm, his touch gentle but firm. You physically can't. The claiming bite creates a bond. Until it fully settles, being too far from me will cause you pain. Real pain, the kind that can incapacitate. How far is too far? Right now, 100 meters, maybe less. It will ease over time, but for the next few days. He released her arm. I'm sorry, I truly am. Titan pressed against Senna's leg. I hate this place, he announced. I hate these people. I hate that they have 18 fountains and 0 emotional intelligence. Can we burn it down? I feel like burning it down would solve several problems. Despite everything, Senna felt her lips twitch. We're not burning anything down. Not yet. A young woman appeared at the top of the steps, uniformed, head bowed. If you'll follow me, Miss North, I've been asked to show you to a guest suite where you can. Freshen up. The words freshen up carried a weight of judgment that made Senna want to scream. Fine. She started up the steps, Titan trotting at her heels. Then she paused and looked back at Cormac. 1 hour? 1 hour. His green eyes held hers. I'll come get you. And Senna, what? Don't let them make you feel small. You're worth more than all of them combined. Something warm flickered in her chest. She crushed it immediately. Save the pep talk, she said. I've survived worse than rich people with superiority complexes. She turned and followed the staff inside. The guest suite was larger than Senna's entire apartment. Marble floors, vaulted ceilings, a bed that could comfortably sleep 6, windows that stretched from floor to ceiling, offering a view of the desert that probably cost more per night than she made in a month. This is disgusting, Titan said, sniffing the silk curtains. This is offensively luxurious. I can't believe people live like this while others struggle to afford kibble. You eat premium organic dog food. That's different. I have a sensitive stomach. He hopped onto the bed and immediately sank into the pillows. Oh no, this is comfortable. This is aggressively comfortable. I'm compromising my principles. Senna ignored him and headed for the bathroom. If the bedroom was excessive, the bathroom was obscene. A soaking tub the size of a small pool. A shower with more spray heads than she could count. Heated floors. A vanity stocked with products she'd need a chemistry degree to understand. She showered quickly, no time for luxury, even if she'd wanted it, and emerged to find a dress laid across the bed, deep burgundy silk that caught the light like liquid fire. The neckline plunged just enough to be interesting without being scandalous. The skirt flowed to the floor in waves, with a slit up one side that would allow her to actually move. Delicate gold embroidery traced the bodice like veins of precious metal. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Wear it, Titan said. He'd moved to sit beside the dress, studying it with unusual seriousness. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's a trap. They're dressing you up like a doll. Aren't they? Maybe. His ears twitched. Or maybe it's armor. The fancy kind. The kind that makes people underestimate you while you figure out their weaknesses. Senna touched the silk. It was impossibly soft. Since when are you pro-fancy dress? Since I realized these people respond to appearance. Titan's dark eyes met hers. You can't beat them at their game if you refuse to play, but you can beat them while looking absolutely devastating, which you will, in that dress, because you're gorgeous and they need to know it. Something in her chest loosened. When did you get wise? She asked. I've always been wise. You just don't listen, Senna. She put on the dress. It fit like it had been made for her, which it probably had, knowing these people and their terrifying information networks. The silk whispered against her skin as she moved. The gold embroidery caught the light. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Not a rally driver covered in sand and motor oil. A woman who belonged in golden rooms with crystal chandeliers. See? Titan had climbed onto the vanity to get a better view. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. They're going to choke on their superiority complexes. A smile tugged at Senna's lips. Thank you, Titan. You're welcome. Now let's go intimidate some wolves. She was reaching for the door handle when the world exploded. The bang was deafening, a thunderclap inside the building itself. The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in dim red, screaming. Somewhere in the distance, people were screaming. What was that? Titan pressed against her leg, his body vibrating with tension. I don't know. Senna cracked the door open. The hallway was chaos, staff running, guests stumbling in the darkness, someone shouting orders that no one seemed to be following. A uniformed woman appeared, grabbing Senna's arm. Miss North, please stay in your room. There's been an incident. Security is handling it. What kind of incident? Please stay in your room. The woman's eyes were wide, terrified. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone. She was gone before Senna could argue. We're not staying in the room, Titan said. Absolutely not. Just checking. Wanted to make sure we were on the same page. Senna stepped into the hallway, hiking up her silk skirt with one hand. The emergency lights painted everything in bloody shadows. Staff rushed past without seeing her, too focused on whatever disaster was unfolding. Which way? She asked. Titan's nose twitched. Left, I think. The air currents are all wrong. Something's blocking the main corridor. They moved through the chaos, Titan navigating by scent and sound while Senna followed. Twice they had to duck into alcoves to avoid running security teams. Once, something that might have been a wolf shifted, huge, wrong, crossed the far end of a hallway before disappearing. Rogues, Titan whispered, like in the desert. They're inside the compound. A staff stumbled into their path, young, male, bleeding from a gash on his forehead. His eyes went wide when he saw Senna. You shouldn't be out here, he gasped. The rogues, they've locked all the men in the amber room, some kind of barrier. The women are being hunted. Where's the amber room? East wing, but you can't. The rogues are between here and there. Senna grabbed his shoulders. Where is the amber room? East wing, 3rd floor, the golden doors. She released him and ran. Senna! Titan scrambled to keep up, his little legs pumping. Senna, this is insane. We don't know where we're going. We don't know how many rogues there are. We don't even know how to fight wolves. Then we'll improvise. She could feel something, faint, like a thread pulled taut in her chest. The bond. Cormac was somewhere ahead, somewhere to the east. Alive, angry, terrified. For her. He was worried about her, while he himself was locked in a room. She followed the thread. The east wing was darker than the rest of the compound. Emergency lights had failed completely here, leaving only moonlight streaming through high windows. Senna's eyes adjusted slowly, then all at once, the darkness becoming sharp and clear. The shift, she realized, it's helping. She could see everything now, the scratches on the marble floor, the shattered vase against the wall, the blood, human blood, pooling beneath a fallen body. And ahead, cornered against a locked door, 3 women. Isolde, a young staff in a torn uniform, and another woman Senna didn't recognize, older, clutching a broken lamp like a weapon. 3 rogues circled them, massive, mangy. wrong in ways that made Senna's newly awakened instincts scream. Senna grabbed a heavy candlestick from a nearby table. I need a distraction. I'm 18 pounds of raw courage and anxiety. What kind of distraction, Senna? The kind that makes them look away from me for 5 seconds. Titan stared at her. Then his expression shifted into something almost manic. 5 seconds, he said. I can do 5 seconds. He launched himself into the corridor with a bark that echoed off the marble walls. Hey, you oversized flea hotels. Yeah, you look like someone shaved a bear and gave it rabies. Your mothers were chihuahuas, and your fathers smelled of elderberries. The rogues turned. Senna moved. She swung the candlestick with everything she had, catching the nearest rogue across the skull. It staggered. She swung again and again until it dropped. The second rogue lunged at her. She dove sideways, her silk dress tearing on the marble. Claws raked the air where her head had been. "Above you!" Isolde shouted. Senna looked up. A massive crystal chandelier hung directly above the second rogue, its chain corroded and weak. She didn't think. She threw the candlestick. It hit the chain with a crack. The chandelier groaned, swayed, fell. Crystal and iron crashed down on the rogue, pinning it to the floor. It howled, thrashing, but couldn't free itself. The third rogue turned on Senna with murder in its eyes. The staff, the young woman in the torn uniform, threw herself at it from behind. She had a letter opener in her hand, and she drove it into the rogue's shoulder. The rogue spun. Its claws caught the staff across the chest. She fell. She didn't get up. "No!" Isolde lunged forward, but the older woman held her back. The rogue advanced on Senna, slower now, savoring. Titan appeared at her ankle, trembling but defiant. "I just want you to know," he said, "that if we die here, I regret nothing. Except maybe not peeing on more of Ronan's things." The rogue tensed to spring. Titan rushed forward, planting himself directly in front of the beast's massive paws. He rose up on his hind legs, barely reaching the rogue's shin, and bared his teeth in what he clearly hoped was a terrifying snarl. On a bulldog, it might have been intimidating. On an 18-pound Frenchie, it looked like an angry croissant having a tantrum. "That's right," Titan growled. "Look at these teeth. These are killer teeth. I could absolutely destroy your ankles. You'd never walk right again. Fear me." The rogue looked down at him, genuinely confused by this tiny, ridiculous creature challenging it to combat, and Isolde smashed a vase over its head from behind. It staggered. Senna grabbed a shard of broken crystal and drove it into the rogue's eye. It screamed, a horrible, almost human sound, and collapsed. Silence. Senna stood over the fallen rogue, chest heaving, hands slick with blood that wasn't hers. Her beautiful burgundy dress was torn and stained. Her hair had come loose from its careful arrangement. She'd never felt more alive. "The staff," she said. "Is she—" Isolde was already kneeling beside the young woman. Her face was pale. Gone. The wounds were too deep. Something cold settled in Senna's chest. A stranger had died, trying to save her, trying to help. "We need to move," the older woman said. Her voice was steady despite the gore surrounding them. "More will come." "Lena's right." Isolde stood, her silk dress as ruined as Senna's. "The amber room. Ronan and Cormac are trapped inside." They ran. Isolde led them through corridors Senna hadn't known existed, staff passages, hidden stairs, shortcuts that bypassed the main halls. Twice they heard rogues nearby and pressed into shadows until they passed. "They're organized," Isolde murmured. "We've been attacked by rogues from the desert before, but never at this scale. They locked the men in the amber room. They must know the layout." Senna kept her voice low. "Either it's an inside job or you have a mole." "Agreed," Isolde said. Senna was surprised at the quick agreement. She glanced at Titan, who gave her a tiny twitch of his nose. That was Titan's version of a wink. The amber room announced itself with golden doors 3 times Senna's height. Beautiful, ornate, and covered in glowing symbols that pulsed with sickly green light. "Magic," Lena said. "A locking spell. The men are trapped inside." Senna pressed her hand against the door. She could feel Cormac on the other side, furious, desperate, throwing himself against the barrier again and again. "I'm here," she thought at him. "I'm coming." "Can you break it?" she asked. "It's blood magic." Isolde's voice was grim.
"Powerful. Old. It would take hours to unravel the proper way." "What about the improper way? My way?"
Isolde stared at her. "Excuse me? I'll pick the lock. I'm old school." Senna dropped to her knees, examining the door's mechanism. Behind the magic, beneath the symbols, there was still a physical lock. Mechanical, old-fashioned. The spell seals the door, but the door is still just a door. Senna pulled a pin from her ruined hair and bent to work. Her hands were shaking. The mechanism was old, complex, nothing like the simple locks she'd practiced on as a teenager. "More coming," Titan announced. He'd positioned himself at the corridor's entrance, his small body rigid with tension. "At least 4, maybe 5. They'll be here in about 60 seconds. I need more time." "You have 60 seconds." Isolde and Lena moved to flank the corridor entrance. They'd armed themselves with broken furniture, a chair leg, a curtain rod. Pathetic weapons against wolves, but they stood ready anyway. 45 seconds, Titan said. The lock clicked, shifted. Senna felt the mechanism resist, then start to give. 30 seconds. The symbols on the door flickered, sputtered. The sickly green light began to fade. 15 seconds. Senna, they're here. The lock gave. The door exploded outward. Cormac burst through first, half shifted. Claws extended from human hands, fangs visible in a human mouth. The rest of him remained in human form. Senna knew nothing about wolf shifters, but she assumed it took exceptional control to compartmentalize the shifting process like that. He hit the first rogue before it could react, claws tearing through its throat. Ronan followed, fully shifted, massive silver-streaked fur rippling over powerful muscles, every inch the alpha. The rogues didn't stand a chance. In 30 seconds it was over. 5 rogues lay dead on the marble floor. Cormac shifted back to fully human form. His eyes found Senna immediately. "You're alive," he breathed. "Disappointed?" "Relieved." He crossed to her in 2 strides, hands cupping her face, forehead pressing to hers. "I felt you through the bond. Fighting. I couldn't get to you. I handled it." "I know," his voice cracked. "I know you did." "How many rogues? Where did they breach?" Ronan demanded, shifting back to human form. "Unknown and unknown," Isolde said. "But this was coordinated. Someone helped them enter. The Northern Pack, perhaps, or someone within our own ranks." Her eyes were cold. "We've been betrayed, Ronan." More howls echoed through the compound, distant but numerous. "There are more coming," Senna said. "A lot more. We need to leave." "Leave?" Ronan's voice was incredulous. "This is my pack house, my territory. I will not flee from—" "You'll die if you stay." "I am the Alpha. I do not run." "Running isn't cowardice when you're outnumbered." Senna stepped forward, meeting the Alpha's glare without flinching. "It's strategy. Live to fight another day. Protect your family. Figure out who betrayed you and make them pay. You can't do any of that if you're dead." "She's right," Cormac said quietly. "She's a human. She's my mate, Father, and she's right." Ronan's jaw worked. His eyes blazed. For a moment, Senna thought he might actually attack her. Titan chose that exact moment to trot up to the Alpha and lift his leg against Ronan's ankle. "What?" Ronan jerked backward, staring at the French Bulldog in horror. "Did your dog just—" "Oops," Titan said, not sounding remotely sorry. "Nervous bladder. Very stressful situation. My condolences to your footwear." Senna didn't think. She grabbed a piece of fallen masonry and swung it at the back of Ronan's head. The Alpha crumpled. Silence. Cormac stared at his unconscious father, then at Senna, then at his father again. "You just—" He seemed to be having trouble forming words. "You hit the Alpha of the Desert Moonpack in the head with a rock." He wasn't going to leave voluntarily. "No one has ever. There's a first time for everything." Cormac's expression shifted through shock, disbelief, and something that looked dangerously close to admiration.
I think I'm in love with you, he said. Save it for later. Can you carry him? Yes, but the compound is overrun. The main garage is compromised. How do we— The service entrance. Isolde's voice was sharp but not angry. If anything, she seemed almost impressed. Back of the compound. There's an old supply truck the staff use for deliveries. Has it been sabotaged? Probably not. No one remembers it exists. Isolde bent to retrieve her fallen curtain rod. I'll lead. Lena, take the rear. Cormac, carry your father. Miss North. Senna. Isolde paused. Something passed between them. Acknowledgement, maybe. The beginning of respect. Senna, Isolde repeated. Can you drive a truck? I can drive anything with wheels and most things without. Then let's move. They ran. Cormac carried his unconscious father over one shoulder like he weighed nothing. Isolde navigated through staff passages with the confidence of long familiarity. Lena guarded their backs, her makeshift weapon ready. And Titan ran at Senna's heels, his little legs pumping furiously. Just so you know, he panted, peeing on the Alpha was entirely tactical. Strategic stress relief, very calculated. Sure it was. It was! I'm a tactical genius. You're a menace. I contain multitudes. The service entrance was a small door in the compound's rear wall, half hidden behind overgrown hedges. Beyond it, a dusty yard held exactly one vehicle, a battered supply truck that looked older than the mansion. Can you start it? Cormac asked, putting his father into the truck bed. Give me 90 seconds. She smashed the window, reached inside, popped the hood. The wiring was ancient but intact. Her fingers moved automatically, stripping insulation, twisting connections. Behind her, howls erupted from inside the compound. Close, getting closer. Senna, Cormac said. We have company. Working on it. Work faster. Helpful, very helpful. The engine coughed, sputtered, died. She tried again. Cross the wires. Contact. Spark. The engine roared to life. Everyone in! She screamed, throwing herself behind the wheel. Now! Cormac vaulted into the passenger seat. Isolde and Lena climbed into the truck bed with the unconscious Ronan. Titan launched himself onto Senna's lap. Rogues burst through the service entrance. Senna floored the accelerator. The truck lurched forward, crashing through the compound's outer fence. Metal screamed. Wood splintered. Then they were in the desert, bouncing over sand and rock, leaving chaos behind them. Senna checked the rearview mirror. The rogues had stopped at the fence line, howling at the retreating vehicle but making no move to follow. They're not pursuing, she said. Why aren't they pursuing? Might have something to do with their vehicles, Titan said quietly from her lap. Senna glanced down at him. What about their vehicles? Valve caps. He examined his paw with studied casualness. Tiny little things, very easy to bite off, very hard to drive without. When did you— After I released my bladder on the Alpha. Titan's ears twitched. Multitasking. I was in the area. Seemed efficient. Cormac turned to stare at the French Bulldog. You sabotaged their tires while urinating on my father? I prefer the term strategic resource allocation, Titan sniffed. But yes, essentially. Silence in the truck. Then Isolde's voice drifted from the truck bed, carrying a note of genuine admiration. I'm starting to like the dog. Don't get used to it, Titan muttered. I'm not a team player. This was purely self-preservation. But his tail wagged once, just slightly, before he caught himself. The truck made it another 20 minutes before it died. The sound came first, a hissing, sputtering wheeze from somewhere beneath the hood. Then the smell hit. Gasoline, sharp and acrid, filling the cab like a warning. That's not good, Titan announced, his nose twitching. That's the opposite of good. That's bad. That's very, very— The engine coughed once, twice, and went silent. Senna pumped the accelerator. Nothing. She tried the ignition. The engine turned over but wouldn't catch. More hissing, more gasoline smell. Fuel line, she muttered, already throwing open her door. Has to be. She dropped to her knees beside the truck, peering underneath. There, A crack in the ancient rubber hose, gasoline dripping steadily onto the sand like blood from a wound. "Can you fix it?" Cormac asked, crouching beside her. "Maybe. I need—" She looked around. The desert offered nothing but rocks and sand. Something to seal it. Tape, cloth, anything. "Use this." Isolde appeared, tearing a strip from her already ruined silk dress. "It's the most expensive bandage this truck will ever receive." Senna wrapped the silk around the cracked hose, pulling it tight, tying it off. The dripping slowed to a trickle, then stopped. "That'll hold," she said, "but we've lost fuel, a lot of it." She checked the gauge through the open door. The needle sat firmly below, empty. "How far to the sanctuary?" she asked. 10 kilometers, Cormac said. "Maybe 12. "And how far back to the station?" 3, maybe 4. Senna did the math. They couldn't push the truck 12 kilometers, but 3 kilometers there and back for fuel. "Someone's coming," Titan said. Everyone froze. Senna heard it now, too. Engines. Multiple. Coming from the direction they'd fled. "How many?" Ronan demanded. Titan's ears swiveled. 5 vehicles, at least, moving fast. "They tracked us," Cormac growled. "The mercenaries from last night, they must have called for reinforcements." "Or these are reinforcements," Isolde said quietly. "Whoever wants us dead has deep resources." The engines grew louder. A plume of dust appeared on the horizon, catching the early morning light. "Everyone out of the truck," Ronan commanded, his voice shifting into pure alpha authority. "We make our stand here." "I can fix the fuel situation," Senna said. "I just need time." "You won't have time if you're dead." Ronan was already shifting, bones cracking and reforming, his body expanding into something massive and silver-furred. "Stay behind us." "I'm not staying behind anyone." Senna grabbed a tire iron from behind the seat. "But I can't help you fight if we can't escape after. Someone needs to get fuel." Cormac's hand caught her arm. "Senna, 3 kilometers, I can run it in 15 minutes, 20 there and back, plus however long it takes to get the gas." "You'll be alone out there." "I'll have Titan." She met his eyes. "Keep them alive, Cormac. I'll be back." The vehicles crested the nearest dune. 5 of them. Black SUVs, windows tinted, moving in formation like wolves hunting prey. "Go," Cormac said, the word torn from his throat. "Go now." Senna ran. 3 kilometers had never felt so long. Her legs burned, her lungs screamed. The desert sand shifted under her feet, stealing her momentum, making every step twice as hard as it should have been. Behind her, she heard the battle begin. Snarls, screams, the crunch of metal, and the wet sound of impact. She didn't look back. Titan ran beside her, his little legs pumping furiously. He'd refused to stay. "You'll need me to negotiate," he'd said. "I'm very persuasive." The petrol station appeared through the heat shimmer, the same dingy building from earlier, the same flickering lights, the same bored teenager behind the counter. Senna burst through the door, gasping. "I need fuel. 5 liters, 10, whatever you have in a portable container." The teenager blinked at her. "That'll be $47. Senna reached for her pockets. Her cards were in her jacket. Her jacket was in the truck. "I don't—" She patted herself down frantically. "Nothing. Not a single coin." "I don't have any money." "Then I can't help you." "My friends are dying, right now, 3 kilometers from here. They're being attacked, and I need fuel to—" "Lady, everyone's got a story." The teenager shrugged. "No money, no gas. That's the rule." Senna's hand slammed against the counter. "I'm not asking for charity. I'll come back. I'll pay double, triple. I'll—" "Still no." Something broke inside her. The exhaustion, the fear, the knowledge that while she stood here arguing over $47, Cormac and his family were fighting for their lives. She couldn't rob the station. She wouldn't. That wasn't who she was. But she couldn't go back empty-handed either. "Please," she whispered. The words scraped her throat raw. "Please, I'm begging you." The teenager's expression didn't change. Titan hopped up onto the counter. His eyes went huge and round, glistening with innocence. "Excuse me," he said softly. I couldn't help but notice you have a pet's welcome sign on your door." The teenager stared at the talking dog. His mouth fell open. I know, talking dog. Very unusual. That's my talent and my curse." Titan sat down primly, his wrinkled face arranged into an expression of profound dignity, those enormous eyes never wavering. "The thing is, I don't normally share my personal history. It's painful, very traumatic, but these are desperate times." He took a shaky breath. "The moment I opened my mouth and spoke, I was kicked out of my pack. They thought I was weird. Puppies don't talk. They bark nonsense. So I was abandoned." His voice trembled. Left in a cardboard box behind a gas station very much like this one. It rained that night. Cold rain. The kind that seeps into your bones and makes you question the fundamental goodness of the universe. The teenager's eyes were wide. "I nearly died," Titan continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I would have died. But a kind stranger found me, took me home, fed me, loved me, and never mind that I talk, and I talk a lot. Sometimes I know I'm unbearable. But she took it all." He looked at Senna, and his eyes glistened with what might have been actual tears. "She saved my life, and now she's trying to save other lives. Good people. People who took us in when they didn't have to." He turned back to the teenager. "But there's a problem. The rescue needs fuel, and we don't have $47. Titan's bottom lip quivered. Actually quivered. "So I'm asking you, one abandoned soul to another, please, help us save them." Silence. The teenager's face contorted through several emotions. "Was any of that true?" he asked. Titan's eyes went impossibly larger, a single tear tracking down his wrinkled cheek. The teenager grabbed a container from behind the counter and headed for the pumps. Senna stared at Titan. "Don't ask," he muttered, his voice suddenly flat. "And don't tell anyone, Senna. This is the lowest moment of my life." The teenager returned with a full container. 10 liters. Just take it." "Thank you." Senna grabbed the container. "I'll come back. I'll pay you." "Just go." The teenager looked at Titan. "And take the weird dog with you." "I'm not weird," Titan said as they ran out the door. "I'm complex." The run back was worse. The container was heavy. Her arms ached. Her legs had stopped burning and gone numb, which was somehow more frightening. And the sounds ahead had changed. The fighting had moved. She could hear it, farther from where she'd left them, more desperate, more ragged, fewer snarls, more human screams. She crested the final dune and stopped. The truck was where she'd left it. But between her and the truck, spread across the desert floor, was carnage. Bodies. Wolf bodies, some shifted back to human form in death, blood soaking into the sand. The 5 SUVs had been joined by more. She counted 8, 9, 10 vehicles now. And in the center of it all, making their last stand against a wall of rock, was the Castlemaine family. Ronan was down. His massive silver form lay crumpled on the sand, chest heaving, one leg bent at a wrong angle. Isolde crouched beside him, a broken piece of metal in her hands, her face a mask of fury and terror. Cormac stood in front of them both, half-shifted, claws out, fangs bared. Blood matted his fur, some of it his, some not. 3 wolves circled him. More waited behind them. And Lena lay motionless 20 feet from the group. She tried to break through the circle, tried to get help. The claw marks across her back told the story of how that had ended. Senna's feet were moving before her brain caught up. She reached the truck, poured the fuel. Her hands shook so badly she spilled half of it on the sand. Enough made it into the tank. She threw herself behind the wheel, turned the key. The engine coughed. "Come on," she begged. "Come on." It caught. She floored the accelerator. The truck lurched forward, screaming across the sand toward the battle. The wolves turned at the sound. Too late. She clipped one with the fender, sent it spinning. The others scattered. Senna slammed the brakes, positioning the truck between the Castlemaines and their attackers. "Get behind me!" she screamed. "Everyone behind the truck!" Cormac grabbed his father, hauling the Alpha's massive form toward cover. Isolde scrambled after them. "Senna, what are you doing?" Cormac's voice was ragged. You can't I'm buying you time. She shifted the truck into gear, facing the wall of vehicles ahead. The mercenaries were regrouping. More wolves were shifting. More engines were revving. You'll die. Maybe. She looked at him through the open window. His face was bloody. His eyes were desperate. Get your family to the sanctuary. It's 10 kilometers north. You can make it if I slow them down. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. She nodded toward Ronan's crumpled form. Your father's dying. Your mother can't carry him alone, and someone— Her voice cracked. Someone has to stop them from following. Senna, this is what I do, Cormac. She found a smile somewhere. It hurt. I drive, I race, I go fast, and I don't stop until I cross the finish line. She looked at the enemy vehicles. This is just another race. One you can't win. Maybe not, but I can make damn sure they don't win either. The mercenary vehicles were lining up, 5 across, ready to charge. Titan appeared at the passenger window. I'm staying. No. Senna reached for him. Titan, get out. Go with Cormac. I'm staying. He climbed into the cab, settling onto the passenger seat with stubborn dignity. You need a navigator, someone to tell you when to turn, when to brake, when to die, when to not die. His dark eyes met hers. You're my human, Senna. I'm not leaving you. The enemy engines revved, a signal, preparing to charge. Cormac, Senna said. Go. Now. I'll find you. His hand touched hers through the window. Whatever happens, I'll find you. You'd better. She watched him in the rearview mirror, gathering his father, supporting his mother. She turned to face the wall of vehicles. Well, Titan, she said, any last words? Several, most of them profane. He braced his paws against the dashboard. Let's make them work for it. She pressed the accelerator. The truck lurched forward. The enemy vehicles charged, 5 against 1, metal against metal, no weapons, no backup, just Senna and a truck held together by silk and stubbornness, racing toward certain death because it was the only thing she could do. The gap between them closed. 100 meters, 50, 20. She could see the drivers now, their faces behind the windshields, their certainty that they would crush her like an insect. 10 meters. She braced for impact, and the world turned white. Light exploded across the desert. Not sunlight. Headlights. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Cutting through the morning haze like divine intervention. The enemy vehicles swerved. Some crashed into each other. Others spun out, trying to avoid the wall of new arrivals. Senna slammed her brakes. Through the dust and chaos, she saw them. Soldiers. Dozens of soldiers in tactical gear, pouring out of black SUVs and military trucks, moving in perfect formation, advancing on the scattered mercenaries with mechanical precision. And at their head, stepping out of the lead vehicle like she owned the desert itself, was a woman. Flaming red hair, ice blue eyes, cheekbones that could cut glass, and a posture that said she'd never lost a fight in her life. She raised one hand. Her soldiers charged. Senna sat frozen behind the wheel, watching the battle unfold like a dream. The mercenaries never stood a chance. The red-haired woman's forces moved through them like a scythe through wheat, efficient, brutal, absolute. In 3 minutes it was over. The dust settled, the screaming stopped, and the woman with ice-blue eyes walked toward Senna's truck with the casual grace of someone who'd just won a chess match, not a massacre. She stopped at the driver's window. Senna North, I presume? Her voice was cool, controlled, the voice of someone who never had to raise it to be heard. I'm Kiva Thornwood. Thank you for helping the Castlemaines buy time. My apologies for arriving late. She glanced toward the mountains. My men will escort you all to the sanctuary. You're safe now. She turned and walked away, already issuing orders to her soldiers. Titan pressed against Senna's leg. I don't like her, he whispered. Neither did Senna. But as Kiva's soldiers guided the battered truck toward the mountains, as medics swarmed around the injured Castlemaines, as the chaos finally settled into something like calm, Senna couldn't help but notice the obvious. Kiva had an army. Kiva had resources. Kiva had just saved all their lives without breaking a sweat. She looked at Titan, and before she could say anything, the small dog snorted. Whatever you're thinking, stop right now." His voice was fierce. "Because you have me, Senna. You are enough, and I am enough for anyone in this world who wants us." Chapter 5. The sanctuary was everything Senna wasn't. Ancient stone walls rose from the mountainside, carved directly into the rock face centuries ago. Tapestries hung in every corridor, silk, gold thread, histories woven in images she couldn't read. Crystal chandeliers caught the morning light and scattered it like diamonds across marble floors. And everywhere, Kiva's people. Soldiers guarded every entrance. Medics moved through the halls with purpose. Staff, Kiva's staff, not the Castlemaines, carried trays of food, fresh linens, medical supplies. A small army of competence deployed with a single wave of that red-haired woman's hand. Senna sat in the corner of what they called the recovery room, though it was larger than her entire apartment back home. Ronan lay on a bed that probably cost more than her car. His legs splinted and wrapped, his color slowly returning. Isolde sat beside him, holding his hand. The first genuine tenderness Senna had seen between them. Cormac stood by the window, cleaned up now but still bearing the marks of battle. A cut above his eyebrow, bruises along his jaw. He'd shifted back fully, but the exhaustion hung on him like a second skin. And Kiva commanded the room without raising her voice. "The eastern perimeter needs reinforcement," she said to one of her lieutenants, a tablet in her hand displaying maps Senna couldn't decipher. "And I want patrols doubled until we identify who funded this attack." "Yes, ma'am." "The wounded from the Castlemaine staff. How many?" 7 critical, 3 stable, 1. The lieutenant paused. "1 didn't make it." Isolde's hand tightened on Ronan's. "Lena," she said quietly. Her name was Lena. She'd been with our family for 15 years. Kiva's expression softened, genuinely, not performed. "I'm sorry, Lady Castlemaine. Truly." "She has family in the Southern Valley." Isolde's voice was steady, but Senna could see the grief pooling behind her eyes. "A sister, 2 nephews. I'd like to reach out personally, arrange for her burial with full honors." "Of course," Kiva nodded to her lieutenant. "Make the arrangements, whatever Lady Castlemaine needs." "Thank you." Kiva turned back to her tablet, already shifting to the next crisis. "Lord Castlemaine, when you're feeling stronger, we should discuss the security breach. Someone fed information to those mercenaries. Routes, timing, the compound's vulnerabilities. This wasn't random." Ronan grunted, attempting to sit up. Isolde pushed him back down with a look that could have frozen fire. "Tomorrow," she said firmly. "The Alliance," Ronan started. "Will still be there tomorrow." Isolde's tone brooked no argument. "Today, you rest. We all rest." Kiva nodded, tucking the tablet under her arm. "Of course, I've taken the liberty of preparing rooms for everyone. Hot water, fresh clothes, medical supplies." Her ice-blue eyes swept the room, landing briefly on Senna. "You've all been through an ordeal. Please, rest. Recover. We'll handle the strategy when you're ready." She strode out, her soldiers falling into step behind her. Silence settled over the room. Senna looked down at her hands, cut, bruised, nails cracked and dirty. The burgundy dress had been replaced by borrowed clothes, plain, functional, several sizes too large. Kiva's clothes, probably, or Kiva's staff's clothes. She didn't belong here. The thought landed like a stone in her chest. "Senna," Cormac's voice, soft. "You should rest too. You ran 6 kilometers, fought a battle, and nearly drove headfirst into 5 trucks. Your body needs recovery." "I'm fine." "You're swaying on your feet." She was. She hadn't noticed. "Let me show you to your room," he said. "Please." Senna glanced at Isolde, who gave her a small nod. At Ronan, who was already drifting toward sleep. "Fine," she said, "but only because the floor is starting to look comfortable, and that's never a good sign." The guest room was obscene, a 4-poster bed draped in silk, a fireplace already crackling with warmth, a bathroom with a tub deep enough to swim in, windows that looked out over the mountain valley, the morning sun painting everything gold. "This is a guest room?" Senna asked. "What's the master suite, a small country?" "The master suite has a waterfall," Cormac said, closing the door behind them. And a heated floor. And, if I'm remembering correctly, a ceiling painted with a star map that actually tracks celestial movements. Of course it does. She stood in the center of the room, uncertain what to do with herself. The adrenaline that had carried her through the past 24 hours was fading, leaving behind something hollow and shaky. "Sit," Cormac said gently, "before you fall." She sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress was so soft, she nearly sank through it. Cormac disappeared into the bathroom and returned with a basin of warm water, clean cloths, and a small medical kit. "What are you doing?" she asked. "You have a cut on your temple that's been bleeding on and off for hours." He knelt in front of her, dipping a cloth in the water. "You have scrapes on both palms from the rock formations, and I suspect, though you'll never admit it, that your ribs are bruised from when the truck rolled." "I'm fine. You keep saying that." He reached up, brushing her hair back from her face with careful fingers. "You keep being wrong." The cloth touched her temple, warm, gentle. She hissed at the sting, but he didn't pull back. "Hold still," he murmured. "I'm trying not to hurt you." Bit late for that. His hand stilled, green eyes met hers. "That's not—" Senna sighed. "I didn't mean it like that." "Didn't you?" She didn't answer. He cleaned the cut in silence, then applied something that stung before covering it with a small bandage. His movements were precise, practiced, like he'd done this before. "Your hands," he said. She held them out, palm up, vulnerable. He cleaned those too, gentle around the worst of the scrapes. His thumb traced the edge of her palm, following a line that had nothing to do with wounds. "You came back," he said quietly. "You could have run, could have kept going. Instead, you came back with fuel, drove into a battle, and tried to sacrifice yourself for my family." It was the practical choice. It was insane. "Well," she managed a small smile, "I'm a rally driver. Insane is the job description." He didn't smile back. "Senna," his voice cracked on her name. "I watched you drive toward those trucks. I watched you racing toward certain death, and I couldn't—" He stopped, breathed. "I couldn't do anything. I couldn't save you. I could only watch. You had to protect your family. You are my family now." The words came out raw, unpolished. Whether either of us planned it or not. Something twisted in her chest. "Cormac, let me finish." He set aside the cloth, but didn't release her hands. "I need you to hear this." She waited. "I claimed you without consent," he said. "My wolf took over, and I did something unforgivable. I bound you to me without asking, without giving you a choice." His jaw tightened. "That wasn't fair, it wasn't right, and I've been trying to figure out how to apologize for something that can't be undone." "Do you regret it?" The question hung between them. "Yes," he said, "and no. That's not an answer. It's the only honest one I have." He looked at her, really looked, not through her or past her, but at her. "I don't regret that you're my mate. I don't regret that my wolf recognized you. But I regret how it happened. I regret that you didn't get to choose. I regret that every moment we've had since then has been shadowed by the knowledge that you're here because of a bite, not a decision." Senna's throat tightened. "If you hadn't bitten me," she said slowly, "would you have asked me out? Pursued me? Tried to—" She gestured vaguely. "Whatever wolves do when they're interested? Yes. Even though I'm human? Even though I'm nobody? A rally driver with a broken car and a sick mother and a dog who talks too much? Especially because of that." She laughed, a small broken sound. "You're lying. I'm not." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "You threw yourself into a sandstorm to warn a stranger. You fought rogues with a candlestick. You dropped a chandelier on a wolf and didn't even blink. You knocked my father unconscious with a rock and then drove us through the desert using a dog as your GPS. A smile ghosted across his lips. "You're extraordinary, Senna. I would have noticed you. I would have wanted you." But would I have wanted you? The question landed like a blade. Cormac's hand stilled on hers. "Would you?" he asked quietly. Senna looked at him. At this beautiful, complicated man with his wolf eyes and his ancient bloodline and his family's centuries of power. You're not in my circle, she said finally. That's the truth. You're not anyone I would have met in my regular life. Not anyone I would have dated or known or even talked to beyond a passing excuse me in a coffee shop. She pulled her hands back, suddenly needing distance. I'm a mechanic's daughter from Nevada. I race cars for prize money to pay my mother's medical bills. My social calendar consists of Titan and my pit crew. I don't attend galas. I don't wear silk dresses. I don't know which fork to use at a 7-course dinner. There's only one fork, he said. The rest are decoration. That's not the point. What is the point? The point is, she stood, pacing to the window. The valley stretched below, beautiful and foreign. The point is that we come from different worlds, literally. And in any normal universe, those worlds would never have intersected. But they did, because of a bite, not a choice. Silence stretched between them. Cormac rose, moving to stand behind her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. I want you to choose me, he said. Not because of the bond, not because of obligation, because you want to. And if I don't? He was quiet for a long moment. The mate bond can't be undone, he said finally. That's the truth. In almost every case, it's permanent, unbreakable. Once claimed, always claimed. Senna's chest tightened. Trapped. The word echoed in her mind. But my family has an heirloom, Cormac continued. A stone passed down through generations. It was created centuries ago, during a time when forced claims were more common. His voice dropped. It can break a mate bond. Sever it completely. She turned to face him. What? He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A stone, no larger than his thumb, black as midnight with veins of amber running through it. It pulsed faintly in his palm, warm and ancient. It's never been used, he said. Not in my family, not once in 300 years. Because when we love completely. We commit, we don't go back. He looked at the stone, then at her. My parents, you've seen how different they are, how much they argue, how stubborn my father is, how sharp my mother can be. But they chose each other, and once they did, they never wavered, never regretted, never looked back. Senna stared at the stone. And you're giving this to me? I'm giving you the choice I should have given you from the beginning. He pressed the stone into her palm, closing her fingers around it. Keep it, and if you decide, at any point, that this isn't what you want, that I'm not what you want, use it, break the bond, walk away. The stone was warm against her skin, pulsing gently like a second heartbeat. And if I do, she whispered, if I use it? Pain flickered across his face, there and gone. Then you'll be free, he said simply, and I'll learn to live with the empty space where you used to be. Cormac, rest. He stepped back, creating distance between them. Professional, controlled. Only his eyes betrayed the storm beneath. You need it. We all do. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. He walked to the door. Cormac, she called. He paused, hand on the handle. Thank you, she said, for the choice. Something shifted in his expression, softened. Thank you for coming back, he said. And then he was gone. Cormac woke to emptiness, not the physical kind. His room was exactly as he'd left it, the morning light filtering through heavy curtains, the fire burned down to embers. But inside his chest, where the bond had hummed warm and constant since the desert storm, nothing. A void, a silence, a space where Senna used to be. He knew before he threw off the covers, knew before his feet hit the cold stone floor, knew before he pulled on clothes and strode down the corridor toward her room, but he had to see it, had to be sure. Her door was unlocked. He pushed it open. The bed was made, the room was empty. No borrowed clothes scattered on the chair, no Titan curled on the pillows. Just the stone, sitting on the bedside table like an accusation. And beneath it, a note. His hands didn't shake as he picked it up. They should have. They would later. But right now, they were steady as he unfolded the paper and read Senna's handwriting, cramped and hurried, like she'd written it fast before she could change her mind. Cormac, you asked me to choose you, and maybe someday, in a different world, I would have. But I don't know how to be what your family needs. I don't know how to stand next to Kiva and her army and her resources and pretend I belong. I don't know how to attend strategy meetings about pack alliances when I don't even know what a pack alliance is. What I know is racing. What I know is engines and speed and finishing what I start. The A1 Thrills starts in 3 days. I need to be there. My mother needs me to be there. You gave me a choice. I'm making it. I'm sorry. Senna P.S. Take care of yourself. Titan says your taste in shoes is acceptable, which is high praise from him. P.P.S. Thank you for everything. Even the bite. Especially the bite. It was the most interesting thing that's ever happened to me. Cormac read the note twice, 3 times. Then he folded it carefully, slipped it into his pocket, and picked up the stone. It was cold now, dead, the amber veins dull and lifeless. She'd used it, cut the bond completely, and walked away. The breakfast room fell silent when he entered. His father sat at the head of the table, leg propped on cushions, color better than yesterday, but still pale. His mother sat beside him, a cup of tea untouched before her, and Kiva. Kiva sat across from them, beautiful and composed, a tablet beside her plate, already working. All 3 looked up when Cormac appeared in the doorway. He didn't speak, just walked to the table, pulled the note from his pocket, and set it down beside his father's plate. Ronan read it. His expression shifted through confusion, understanding, and something that might have been respect. She broke the bond. Cormac set the stone beside the note. She used the heirloom. Isolde picked up the stone, turning it over in her fingers. In 300 years, no one in our family has ever used this. She's not part of our family. Cormac's voice was flat, controlled. She made that clear. Silence. Kiva set down her tablet, folding her hands on the table. I'm sorry, Cormac. I know this is difficult. Don't. He held up a hand. Please, not now. She nodded, pressing her lips together. Ronan was still staring at the note, reading it again maybe, or just thinking. Finally, he spoke. The alliance between our packs is important, he said slowly. The security it provides, the resources, the political stability. He looked at Kiva. Your family has been invaluable. Yesterday proved that beyond any doubt. Thank you, Lord Castlemaine. But, Ronan set down the note, my son's happiness matters more. Cormac's head snapped up. Father, let me finish. Ronan's voice was gruff, but not unkind. I've spent years building this alliance, years negotiating, planning, pushing you toward Kiva because I thought it was best for the pack, best for our future. He paused. But I watched you yesterday, watched you look at that human woman like she'd hung the moon, watched you choose her safety over strategy, her life over politics. She's gone now. Gone, yes, but not forgotten. Ronan looked at Kiva. Miss Thornwood, I want to be clear. The strategic alliance between our families remains important, vital even, but I will not force my son into a match he doesn't want, and I suspect— His eyes softened slightly. I respect you and your family, Kiva. You deserve better than being someone's second choice. Kiva's expression flickered. Something complicated passed across her face. I appreciate that, Lord Castlemaine, she said carefully. Whatever you and Cormac decide from here, whether you choose to pursue a bond or go your separate ways, make sure it's not driven by pack politics. Ronan's hand found Isolde's on the table. I've been married for 40 years to a woman I fought with for the first decade. We chose each other anyway, and I've never regretted it. Neither have I, Isolde murmured. Life is too short for duty without love, Ronan continued. Too long for love without choice. He looked at Cormac. Whatever you decide, son, make sure it's yours to make. Cormac stood frozen. This was not the father he knew, not the alpha who demanded obedience, who valued tradition above all, who had pushed the Kiva match for years without considering Cormac's feelings. Something had shifted. Maybe almost dying did that to a man. Cormac nodded slowly, then turned to Kiva and extended his hand. Let's go for a walk. I didn't give Senna a choice when I claimed her. I want to make sure that whatever we decide, it's a mutual agreement. Kiva studied him for a long moment. Then she rose, setting her tablet aside, and took his hand. I'd like that, she said. They walked out together, leaving Ronan and Isolde alone at the breakfast table. Chapter 6. The starting line stretched before them like a promise. Senna gripped the steering wheel of her Mitsubishi. Battered, beloved, held together by stubbornness and duct tape. The desert sun blazed through the windshield, but for once, she didn't mind the heat. This was her world, her arena, the place where everything made sense. Titan sat in the co-driver's seat, a custom harness strapping him in place, a tiny headset perched between his ears. He looked ridiculous. He looked perfect. "You know," Senna said, adjusting her own headset, "I've been thinking about that story you told at the gas station." "What story?" Titan's ears flattened with sudden wariness. "The one about being abandoned in a cardboard box, cold, wet, dying in the rain." She side-eyed him, questioning the fundamental goodness of the universe. "That was a very traumatic experience. You were warm and dry in a pet store window when I found you. You ran to the service station on your own 4 legs. That's why you got wet and cold. Yes, I skipped the pet store part because it's boring and irrelevant. It wouldn't get you the fuel you needed to save lives." Titan sniffed. "And on that note, we're going to win this race and then go back and pay that poor kid his $47. Happy? It's not about the money. I'm going to pay him because I promised. But I want to make sure—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "The part about being kicked out of your pack because you can speak, was that true? Or did you make that up too?" Titan went very still. "Does it matter?" he asked, his voice unusually flat. "It matters to me." Silence stretched between them. Outside, the crowd buzzed with anticipation. Other cars revved their engines. The countdown clock ticked toward 0. "I wasn't kicked out," Titan said finally. "That implies a formal process, paperwork, an exit interview." He stared straight ahead, not meeting her eyes. "I just wasn't wanted. My littermates couldn't understand me. My mother thought I was defective. The other dogs at the breeders—" He stopped, swallowed. When you're the only one who's different, you learn very quickly that different means alone. Senna's chest tightened. "The pet store was better," he continued, his voice forcibly light. "At least the humans thought I was entertaining, a novelty. Look at the talking dog. How clever, how unusual. But no one wanted to take me home. 3 days I sat in that window. 3 days of people laughing, pointing, moving on to buy golden retrievers and labradoodles. Normal dogs, dogs that didn't make them uncomfortable. Titan, and then you walked in." His voice cracked, just slightly. 17 years old, smelling like motor oil and bad decisions, with $20 in your pocket and absolutely no idea what you were getting into. And you looked at me. Not like I was a freak or a novelty or a problem to be solved. You looked at me like I was yours. Senna reached over and put her hand on his small head. "You are mine," she said quietly. "And you're not defective. You're not a novelty. You're the bravest, most loyal, most annoyingly opinionated co-driver in rally racing history. I'm the only talking co-driver in rally racing history, which makes you one of a kind. Not defective, rare." She scratched behind his ears. "And for the record, those golden retrievers and labradoodles are boring. Basic, completely lacking in personality. You're a limited edition, collector's item. Priceless." Titan was quiet for a long moment. "You're getting sentimental," he said finally, but his voice was thick. "It's unbecoming, very unprofessional. We have a race to win." "You started it." "I absolutely did not. You interrogated me about my traumatic past. That's on you." He shuffled his pace notes, hand-drawn cards with his air current predictions and her usual navigation markers, and cleared his throat loudly. "Now focus. Your mother's kidneys aren't going to pay for themselves." "That's dark." "I'm a realist." He tapped the dashboard. "Stage 1 begins in 3 minutes. I've analyzed the air patterns for the first 20 kilometers. There's a crosswind at kilometer 8 that's going to try to push you into the canyon wall. Don't let it. Anything else?" "Yes. Drive fast. Don't crash. Win." He paused. "Also, I believe in you, but don't let that go to your head." Senna's chest tightened. 3 days ago, she'd had a mate bond humming in her chest, a wolf prince who looked at her like she mattered. a family of ancient wolves who'd started to accept her. Now she had an empty space where Cormac used to be, a talking dog with delusions of grandeur, and one shot at winning enough money to save her mother's life. It would have to be enough. The countdown began. "Ready?" she asked. "Born ready." Titan braced his paws against the dashboard. "Let's show these amateurs what real driving looks like." The flag dropped. Senna floored the accelerator. Stage 1 was chaos. The desert stretched in every direction. Sand, rock, canyons carved by ancient water. The course wound through all of it, demanding everything she had. "Hard left in 50 meters, Titan called out. "Then immediate right. There's a rock formation the official notes missed. I can feel the air breaking around it." Senna took the left, then the right, threading between boulders that would have shredded her tires if she'd hit them. "Good," Titan said. "Now straight for 200 meters. The sand is soft on your left. Stay right." "Right, Senna. More right. There." They flew across the desert, Titan's air current readings proving more accurate than any pace notes she'd ever used. When other drivers hit soft sand, she avoided it. When crosswinds pushed competitors into walls, she anticipated and corrected. By the end of Stage 1, she was in 4th place. By the end of Stage 3, she was 3rd. "Veltri and Tanaka are still ahead," Titan reported, as they pulled into the service park. Her crew swarmed the car, 3 mechanics checking tires, engine, fuel. "Veltri by 42 seconds, Tanaka by 28. "I can catch them." "I know you can." Titan hopped out to supervise the mechanics with the intensity of a tiny, furry drill sergeant. "Watch that tire pressure. If it's off by even half a psi, I will end you." The mechanic stared at the talking dog. "He's joking," Senna said. "I'm absolutely not joking," Titan replied. Stage 4 nearly killed them. A sandstorm rolled in without warning, not as massive as the one where she'd met Cormac, but enough to reduce visibility to nothing. Through the chaos, she heard other cars pulling over, waiting it out. Senna didn't stop. "I can't see anything," she said, her voice tight. "Then don't use your eyes." Titan's ears were swiveling, his whole body rigid with concentration. "Use me. 20 degrees right. The storm is pushing sand dunes across the course. The original line is buried. We go around. If you're wrong, I'm not wrong. I navigated us through a desert at night with no headlights while being chased by mercenaries. This is nothing." He paused. "Okay, this is mildly terrifying. But I've got you. Trust me." She trusted him. They emerged from the sandstorm 17 minutes ahead of anyone else. By the end of Stage 4, she was in 2nd place. Tanaka had fallen back. Veltri still led, but only by 12 seconds. "Final stage," Titan said, as they lined up for the last run. 12 seconds, that's nothing. That's a sneeze. That's the time it takes me to judge someone's outfit. It's an eternity in rally. Then make it feel like seconds." He met her eyes. "You've outdriven rogues, mercenaries, and a man who literally bit you without permission. Marco Veltri is just a guy with a faster car and worse instincts. You've got this." Senna took a breath. The final stage stretched before them. 40 kilometers of the most brutal terrain the A1 thrills had to offer. Canyons, river crossings, a mountain pass that had ended careers. "If we win," she said, "I'm buying you the most expensive organic dog food on the market." "If we win, you're buying me a spa day." Titan adjusted his headset. "I want cucumber eye masks and a full-body massage. From a licensed professional. None of your amateur petting." "Deal." The flag dropped. 40 kilometers, 12 seconds. Senna drove like her life depended on it. Like her mother's life depended on it. Like everything she'd ever worked for came down to this single stretch of desert and rock and impossible terrain. "Canyon coming," Titan called. "The air currents are pulling left. Veltri will feel it and overcorrect. You go straight. Trust the line." She went straight. The canyon walls rose around her, so close she could have touched them. River crossing in 2 kilometers. It's deeper than the notes say. I can feel the humidity. Hit it fast or you'll get stuck. She hit it fast. Water exploded around the car, spraying across the windshield. For a terrifying second, she felt the tires lose grip. Then they caught, and she was through. "Mountain pass," Titan said. This is it. Veltry's 5 seconds ahead. You can see his dust. She could. A plume of brown against the blue sky, winding up the mountain road. The hairpin at the summit, Titan continued. There's a shortcut. It's not on any map. But I can feel it. A gap in the rocks where the air moves differently. If you take it, you'll shave 8 seconds. If it's not on any map, how do you know it's passable? I don't. His dark eyes met hers. But I know you. And I know that if anyone can make an impossible gap work, it's the woman who drove a dying truck headfirst into 5 mercenary vehicles. Senna's hands tightened on the wheel. The hairpin approached. She could see Veltry's car ahead, taking the standard line, following the road as it curved around the mountain. The gap was there, barely visible. A crack in the rocks that might fit a car. Might not. Senna, Titan said. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. She made her decision. She took the gap. Rock walls scraped against both sides of the car. Metal screamed. Sparks flew. For 3 endless seconds, she was threading a needle at 100 kilometers an hour, trusting her instincts, trusting her dog, trusting herself. Then, she was through. And she was ahead. Go! Titan screamed. Go, go, go! The finish line appeared in the distance. A banner. Crowds. Cameras. Veltry was behind her now, his car emerging from the hairpin, but too late. Too slow. Senna floored the accelerator. The Mitsubishi gave everything it had, and Senna North crossed the finish line first. The world exploded into noise, cheering, air horns, her name being shouted from 100 different directions. Senna sat in the driver's seat, hands still gripping the wheel, heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her teeth. We won, Titan said, his voice strange. Quiet. Senna, we won. We won. We won. Titan launched himself at her, his small body wriggling with excitement. We won. We won. I knew we'd win. I never doubted us for a second. This is the greatest moment of my life. You doubted us constantly. Irrelevant. Victory has erased all doubt. I am a champion. I demand a parade. Senna laughed, really laughed, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep. She opened the car door, stepping out into the chaos, and was immediately swarmed. Her crew, race officials, journalists with cameras and microphones, everyone wanted a piece of the woman who'd just pulled off the biggest upset in A1 Thrills history. She answered questions on autopilot, smiled for cameras, let someone drape a winner's banner over her shoulders. Through it all, she kept looking for there. At the edge of the crowd, standing apart from the chaos, was the Castlemaine family. Ronan, leaning on a cane but upright. Isolde beside him, elegant even in the desert heat. Kiva, her red hair catching the sunlight, tablet in hand as always. And Cormac. Cormac, who was looking at her like she'd hung the moon and every star around it. She froze. The crowd seemed to part, or maybe she just stopped seeing them. Everything narrowed to that single point, that single person. Go, Titan said, nudging her leg. I'll handle the press. I'm very photogenic. She went. The walk across the finish line area felt like miles, like years. Ronan nodded as she approached, actual respect in his eyes. Isolde smiled. Kiva gave her a professional once-over and seemed to approve of whatever she saw. But Senna only had eyes for Cormac. He stepped forward, closing the distance between them until they were an arm's length apart. You won, he said. I did. First place. Against drivers with better cars and bigger budgets and actual co-drivers who don't threaten to urinate on everyone. A smile ghosted across his lips. I'm impressed, though I shouldn't be. I've seen what you can do. Why are you here? The question came out sharper than she intended. All of you. Why? Because I made a mistake, Cormac said. When you left, I let you go. I respected your choice, and I don't regret that. You needed to do this. You needed to win on your own terms, without me, without the bond, without any of it. But I should have told you something before you left. He reached out, his hand hovering near her cheek, but not quite touching. I should have told you that the bond was never the reason I wanted you. It was just the thing that brought us together. The rest, everything I feel, That's real. That's mine. That exists whether the bond does or not. Senna's throat tightened. Kiva and I talked, Cormac continued. We agreed we're better as allies than mates. She deserves someone who chooses her first, not someone who's already given his heart away. He paused. My father gave me his blessing to pursue whoever I want. For the first time in my life, he told me to follow my heart instead of pack politics. Ronan said that? Almost dying gives a man perspective. His words. Cormac's hand finally touched her face, gentle as a whisper. Senna, I'm not asking you to come back to my world. I'm not asking you to attend galas or learn pack politics or figure out which fork is which. There's only one fork, she said, her voice cracking. The rest are decoration. He laughed, a real laugh, warm and surprised. You remembered. I remember everything. Then remember this. He stepped closer, his forehead nearly touching hers. I'm asking if I can be part of your world. Races and pit crews and a dog who insults my footwear. No bond, no obligation. Just me, choosing you. If you'll have me. Senna looked at him, at this ridiculous, wonderful man who'd chased her across a desert, who'd given her the power to break their bond, who'd shown up at her finish line not to claim her, but to support her. The bond is broken, she said. You know that. The stone. I know. If you want to be with me, it would be like starting over, like being human. I know. No supernatural connection, no claiming, just us, he finished. Just a man who's desperately in love with a woman who drives like a maniac and has a dog who narrates his own emotional journey. That's not a selling point. It is to me. Senna took a breath. The empty space in her chest where the bond used to be still ached. But standing here looking at Cormac, she realized something. The space wasn't empty anymore. It was filling up with something else. Something that had nothing to do with supernatural bonds and everything to do with choice. If we do this, she said slowly, you're going to have to accept that I'm gone for weeks at a time during race season, that my car is more important than my apartment. That Titan has opinions about everything and will share them whether you want him to or not. I'll buy earplugs. I'm serious. So am I. He took her hands. Senna, I watched you drive into a sandstorm to save a stranger. I watched you fight wolves with furniture. I watched you race towards certain death because it was the only way to protect people you'd known for less than 24 hours. Do you really think irregular schedules and a judgmental French Bulldog are going to scare me off? She stared at him for a long moment. Then she kissed him. The crowd erupted into cheers, some because they recognized a good story, some because they had cameras rolling. Senna didn't care. She kissed Cormac like she'd been wanting to since she left the sanctuary, like she'd been denying herself for 3 days of driving and doubt. When they finally pulled apart, his eyes were glowing faintly amber. My wolf wants to claim you again, he murmured against her lips. Properly this time, with your permission. Ask me, she said. Senna North. His voice dropped, rough with emotion. Will you be my mate? Not because of a bite or a bond or an accident in a sandstorm, because you choose it, because you want it, because... Yes. He blinked. I had more speech prepared. I'm sure it was very eloquent. Yes. His smile was like sunrise. This is going to hurt, he warned. Just for a moment. I know. He lowered his head to her neck, to the same spot where he'd bitten her in the desert. But this time she felt it coming. This time she wanted it. This time, when his teeth broke skin, she leaned into it instead of away. The bond snapped back into place like a rubber band stretched too far. Sudden, intense, overwhelming. She gasped as she felt him flood into her, his joy, his relief, his love, his absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. There you are, he whispered against her neck. I missed you. I was gone 3 days. 3 days too long. Excuse me, pardon me, champion co-driver coming through. Titan burst through the crowd, followed by a man in an expensive suit who looked both bewildered and fascinated. Senna, Titan announced, this man wants to give you a television show. Well, give us a television show. I've already negotiated preliminary terms. The suited man stepped forward, extending his hand. Marcus Webb, Extreme Sports Network. Ms. North, I've been watching your race via drone footage, and I have to say, I've never seen driving like that. The sandstorm stage alone was the most incredible footage we've captured in years. Thank you, Senna managed, still slightly dazed from the claiming. I want to feature you in a 6-episode documentary series. Your story, your training, your races. Full access, premium placement. He paused. And your, co-driver. Viewers are going to lose their minds over a talking dog. I prefer canine navigation specialist, Titan said. And I have contract requirements. No close-ups before noon. My fur needs time to settle. No questions about my personal life, and I want my own trailer. Titan, Senna started. Non-negotiable. Kiva stepped forward, her tablet already out. Mr. Webb, I'll handle the contract negotiations on behalf of Ms. North. I assume you have lawyers? Yes, of course. Excellent. I'll have terms to you by end of business tomorrow. She shot Senna a look that was almost warm. Consider this a congratulations gift. I'm very good at contracts. She's terrifying, Marcus Webb murmured to Cormac. You have no idea, Cormac replied. The trailer requirement stands, Titan called after them as Kiva led the producer away. And I want approval over my wardrobe. I will not be dressed like a common pet. Senna laughed, leaning into Cormac's chest. His arm came around her, solid and warm and real. So, he said, a television show. Apparently. Does this mean I have to learn to be photogenic? You're already annoyingly photogenic. It's one of your worst qualities. I have worst qualities? So many. I'll make you a list. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. I look forward to it. Ronan and Isolde approached, Ronan moving stiffly but with determination. He stopped in front of Senna, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. First place, he said gruffly. Yes. Against drivers with better equipment and more experience. Yes. He grunted. Acceptable. Isolde rolled her eyes. What my husband is trying to say is that he's impressed and proud and grateful for everything you did for our family. I'm saying acceptable, Ronan muttered. He's also saying he's already contacted the best medical facility in the country regarding your mother's treatment. Isolde continued. The prize money will cover everything, but if there's ever anything else she needs... You don't have to do that, Senna interrupted. We know. Isolde took her hand, squeezing gently. We want to. You're family now, Senna. For real this time. Not because of a bite, because you earned it. Something hot and tight built behind Senna's eyes. She blinked hard against it. Thank you, she managed. Don't thank us yet, Isolde smiled. Wait until you've survived your first Castlemaine family dinner. Ronan argues with everyone about everything. I ask inappropriate questions. And Cormac has been known to shift mid-dessert when he gets overly emotional. That happened once, Cormac protested. It happened twice, darling. Once at Christmas and once at your aunt's funeral. She would have wanted me to honor her memory by howling. She wanted you to honor her memory by sitting quietly and eating the casserole. Senna laughed, really laughed, and felt something settle in her chest. Not the bond, though that hummed warm and constant. Something else. Something simpler. Belonging. I should find Titan before he actually negotiates himself a trailer, she said. Too late! Titan's voice carried across the crowd. I have it in writing. I also have a rider requiring premium kibble in my dressing room. This is the greatest day of my life. Senna shook her head, but she was smiling. She'd come to this race with nothing but a broken car, a talking dog, and a desperate need to win. She was leaving with a victory, a television deal, her mother's treatment secured, and a man who'd chased her across a desert not to claim her, but to choose her. Not bad for a mechanic's daughter from Nevada. Ready to go? Cormac asked, his hand finding hers. She looked at him, at his wolf eyes and his crooked smile and his ridiculous ancient bloodline, at the family who'd gone from wanting her gone to fighting for her to stay, at the future stretching out before them, unknown and terrifying and full of possibility. Yeah, she said, I'm ready. They walked toward the crowd together, toward Titan and his contract negotiations, toward Kiva and her tablet, toward Ronan and Isolde, and whatever came next. The desert sun blazed overhead, hot and bright and unforgiving. Senna had never loved it more. And that's Claimed by the Storm, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. Thank you for spending this time with us. If Titan made you laugh, if Senna made you cheer, if Cormac made your heart do things it shouldn't, let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Don't forget the bonus chapter featuring Titan's own love story, because even ugly ducklings deserve their happily ever after. Link in the description and pinned in the first comment. If you want more shifter romances with heart, humor, and animal sidekicks who refuse to behave, like and subscribe so you never miss a story, and share with a friend who needs a book boyfriend in their life. The entire collection lives at happynovels.com. Come find your next favorite. Got a story idea? A trope you're craving? A sidekick animal that needs their moment? Drop it below. Your suggestion might just become the next video. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay cool, stay in love, and stay out of the storm.